So it's harder to let that go because they're like, but I have to help. I need to spend that extra time. But do you?
But
what are you getting in return from that?
We need to break that down into a digestible format for those who don't work in insurance.
the real question is, are we understaffed or are we just inefficient?
Hey there, it's Kelly Donahue Bureau, your favorite industry best friend. Well, I'm here to let you know that you've done something great for your agency by joining and listening in on our podcast or watching our YouTube channel. I just want to remind everybody that we're here to help. So if you need anything, drop a comment, go to our website, hang out with our chat, or just contact us. There's a problem in your agency, I got solutions, right? I like to think of it, you got a problem, I'll solve it. But let's get into the content today so that you can improve your awareness and knowledge of solutions that exist to the agency's core challenges.
Hello and welcome, friends, to our August series where we're going to dive deep into the adventures of an agency and how do we get to a better place. Today's blog banter is the future of servicing insurance, trends you can't ignore, with my friends Gina and Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. So today we're going to talk about the future of servicing insurance and why agencies can't survive by just winging it anymore. I think there's lots of things happening out there. So my icebreaker question, and for our friends at home, I did not prep our team for this. We went over everything else, but not the icebreaker because it's not fun if it's not a surprise. What's one thing agencies still do today that feels like they're stuck in 2005?
Ooh.
2005 was a long time ago.
I mean, there's people working in insurance that are fully licensed adults that weren't even born yet.
I've got
That's
a
true.
different one.
Okay, go for it, Sarah.
Writing things down.
Like on a notepad?
Like on
Pen and paper?
notepads, on sticky notes. And full disclosure, when I worked in customer service, I remember my leader sat me down and they were like, have you looked at your desk recently? And I was like, well, the desk itself is clean. And she was like, well, look at your monitor. And my monitor literally had a sticky note in every single direction all the way around because that's the way that I like to look for things. But also it wasn't very clean, aesthetic, or also usable when I was like, I know I wrote a sticky note somewhere and I'm just looking in every direction. Like, where is it? I'm not sure.
That is amazing. How about you, Gina? What's one thing agencies still do that makes it feel like they're stuck in 2005?
I would say not texting with clients or using the technology of their management system to the full extent, whether it's texting, like I mentioned, because most people can respond to that quickly during working hours, or it's easier to handle on their lunch breaks if they just shoot you a quick text back. And then a lot of management systems have a client self-service center, so they can be getting quick hit items like ID cards or processing payments themselves instead of calling you and taking up your time for those quick tasks.
100%. I would have to go with, and maybe it's just me, but having to go and take photos of things. Like I still work at agencies where they're like, oh, I'm going to be gone for 3 hours today. Got to go take some photos. And I'm like, can the client not use their cellular device and send you a photo by email
They
or
can
text?
text you the photo. Everything's fine.
Can we not Google map it and just take a peek of when the last photo was taken and see if it's current enough to know what the condition is? And I'm talking before they even write them, they're like, well, we inspect all of our properties before we quote them. And I'm like, before you even quote it?
Wow.
I think some people just like to drive. I don't know. So things to think about. But yeah, sticky notes, email ping pong, call me back, manual ID card request, printing everything, manual photos. I think there's a whole adventure, right? So I want to turn our attention to some of the people that take some of that time, which is the clients we tend to over-service. A lot of agencies spend their energy on high maintenance clients that are low profit accounts and constant complainers, which, yes, everybody needs insurance, but they also pay for a certain level of service, right? So why do agencies always seem to bend over backwards for the loudest client?
Because they're in your face and they are very vocal that, hey, I need help, or I need you to remind me to pay my bill, because if you didn't call me every single month, I would forget and I might spend that money on something else.
I actually was at dealing with an agency the other day where the client got mad because they called on the first notice of cancellation, not the second one. And they should know by now they don't pay until they get the final reminder.
Oh, well, so sorry.
So they could just start skipping the first reminder call. Like, this is not the 7 notices mailed from the company.
I can't.
So could you update my phone? Only call me the day before it actually cancels so I know when I have to pay it. And they're like, no, we cannot.
Now, just pay it now.
Take it back. We're not going to call you anymore at all. And we will put that in writing to you. Thank you. So, Gina, have you ever seen a CSR spend 45 minutes on a client that barely pays any premium?
I have, yes. And I think we struggle with that sometimes because the customer service or like the account manager mindset is to be helpful, to be empathetic and listen and be as helpful as possible. But what we don't realize is we're creating more harmful habits from the client in the long run. So it's harder to let that go because they're like, but I have to help. I need to spend that extra time. But do you? What are you getting in return from that?
And I think that part of what we really need to focus on, or how can we get ahead of the bad client behavior, is really look at our service standard. What is the good client and what does that service experience look like versus all the things we don't need to do? We need client segmentation, right? We need the gold, silver, bronze, platinum, tinfoil, as I like to call it. Like, some people need to go back to recycle. Let them go somewhere else. They're not going to get the same service. They can complain to somebody else. And just clear expectations, right? Like, there's certain things we have to do during the day, and we need to take it from a transaction to an experience. So we have to push our team forward into, here's our client experience. If people are abusing that, how do we push them forward, or how do we really keep the clients that are the best fit for our agency? Which leads to the second part of our conversation, the Chick-fil-A level of consistency. Everything should be repeatable. We need repeatable habits, we need consistent experiences, and we need a minimal amount of errors, especially in insurance. We're protecting people's livelihood, not the temporary motivation or the contest-based performance spikes where we're like, oh my God, it's the end of the year and we didn't do all the goals for the carrier that we said we're going to. Everybody gets $100 for every policy you issue if we issue this many. I'm like, how about we just took that 100 policies and divided it out and did 10 a month, or 2 a week, 3 a week, and every week just had consistent performance.
What? What do you mean?
All the feels. What is the insurance version of my pleasure? Like, what do you guys think insurance-wise? What's my pleasure?
Thank you for your business. Who do you know that I could also help out?
Oh,
ask for a referral. If you're providing a consistent, high-level service to your clients, you should be, in return, able to ask quickly, hey, you know anyone else that might want me to look at their policies? Or you can send them my way. I'd be happy to give them a quote.
What do you think, Sarah?
I like that. I think also it needs to be not necessarily like a statement of my pleasure, but we need to be comfortable enhancing coverage and educating clients really well on what they have and what they need. Because I think a lot of times we may learn the terminology, but when a client asks, like, you know, how does this apply, or does this cover X, Y, and Z? Sometimes service teams get a little shaky where they're just like, I'm not sure. So it's like, we also need to have the understanding of how to educate our clients. And we always talk about the nano principle, where it's like, we need to be able to explain it to people like we're talking to our grandma. Our grandma doesn't know what a BOP is, right? We need to break that down into a digestible format for those who don't work in insurance.
Okay. You said BOP, which makes me giggle because every time, like, I've done insurance for 100,000 years, but every time I hear BOP, I think of the bop it, hit it, twist it.
Ooh, like, twist it, pull it.
And I think that that's kind of where people go, right? Their mind takes them to whatever's most familiar. So one of the other agents I work with, I think that part of their slogan is something like, protection without education isn't coverage.
Ooh.
Like, we have to tell you about the protection we're giving you because you need more than just coverage, right? You need to know the whole thing. And part of where I struggle is we assume a lot in insurance as well. Like, we assume that because somebody came from another agency with experience, they know everything and anything, and they're going to do it perfectly. And so we tend to undertrain, especially people that have experience. We over-assume and undertrain. So I think we need to get to a better place where we don't train until people get it right. We train until they can't get it wrong. And I am perfectly fine with a brand new person coming in the office, so we can train them from the ground up to a great way and a great client experience for us. I'm also fine with taking somebody that has 30 years experience and still starting them in seat one and just fast tracking it, right? You still need to go through all of the same training, but it can go at a much faster pace because you have some prior experience. But the only way to build a true culture and the only way to get our team to move forward is to take it and everybody hears the same thing the same way to know what the expectation is. So what about technology? We like to lie at agencies. There's shiny things. They're going to make everything better. But people tend to buy it and not use it consistently or not use it well. So how do we get to the place where we're not spending thousands on systems that we barely use and there's a process in place for people to follow? What is our thought process is in technology with agencies?
I like the idea of as you find the new piece of technology you want, you can pick someone from each department, like a producer and an account manager to help you build it out and understand it. That way they can be like a new technology team lead and they can help their peers and coworkers understand. They can be the go-to for questions, for troubleshooting. That way the top leaders aren't being bogged down with constant questions of how to use it, what to do with it. And then they can spend the time helping the team who can therefore help the customers use it.
I kind of had a dream about this last night, right? And this is where my mind goes wild. I go to agencies, we all work with agencies, and they're like, oh, I have this cool new thing. And I'm like, cool, what else do you have? And they're like, I understand all the systems we have and we use them well. Okay, how many systems do you have? And they're like, 7. I'm like, that's amazing for you. Okay, how many systems are out there? And they're like, well, 30. And I'm like, okay, so you have 7 of the 30, right? And I was dreaming of Legos falling in their hands like this. And it's like, here's this. And of the 30, you use 7. How many do I know about? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, I could probably think of 100 different systems that are out there that all are insurance related. But in reality, what's out there? And it's changing daily. And it was like the storage closet opening and the whole, like all the Legos fall out of the closet. Maybe I'm the only one with a closet full of Legos, but it was relatable in my dream. And I'm like, there's thousands of things that we could use in an agency, but what do we really need to use to get it right? And there's no right or wrong answer if the team's using it correctly. But I think we need to be really good at what we have and then add complementary things on top. We can't try to just patch everything together into this hodgepodge. That, well, this does this, and this does this, and this does this, but then nobody understands any of it, and nobody uses it at all. Because if the CRM is empty, it didn't happen, right? And we love to say if it's not in the system, it didn't happen. But we have to get to that better place. So we can't treat our AMS like a storage closet. We need to treat it like an operating system. We need to put it in there and know what worked well. Which then leads me to going, well, thank you for choosing Agency Performance Partners. My name is Steven. How can I make this the best call of your day?
Not like that.
What do you mean? Every time I say we should work on scripts or role play, everybody thinks the robot's going to come out. So why do insurance people hate scripts so much? And the real question is, would you rather sound robotic or forget the questions we're even supposed to ask, right?
I think a lot of people feel siloed into scripts and they're worried that their clients may clock, are you reading something? Like, is this coming from an authentic person? And I think a lot of times scripts are a really strong foundation where it's like it tells you what to say until you feel comfortable expanding from that point. And then also with scripts, I think it's important for us to role play and talk to each other in the agency so that when we do have those really difficult calls, we know exactly how we're going to combat those and be open-minded and provide empathy. And it's not a total surprise where you just kind of freeze up and you're like, I don't know where to go from here. Now, I've shared this story quite a few times at this point, but when I used to work on the captive side, we used to role play for hours before we started even taking calls from live clients. And we used to do this in the big corporate buildings where we had our own office where there were 30 of us and we'd call each other with the phone. So it felt more real. It's not like I'm just talking to you face to face. It's somebody else in this classroom from somewhere is dialing my phone and I answer the phone like it's a real call. And I remember sometimes our trainers would call us and they were mean. Oh, they were so mean. And I just remember like my ears would get all hot and I would just be like, going through our little like fake system where we had a sandbox we would play in where I could look up fake names and find fake information and provide that back. But I just remember getting really heated. And my trainer, she came in and she sat down with me and she said, that wasn't easy, but if you can handle that call and you know it's just me, when you actually get this call from a real client, you're more prepared to do so. And I will tell you, our clients were never that mean to me, but I had a really great trainer who told me like worst case scenario, you can now handle this. And so I think sometimes we go easy or we get an opportunity to role play with each other. And we're like, let's just see that we did and just look things over. It really does help you build your terminology when you do practice these role playing. And so even though it may be a little crunchy, it does work.
And I think that it also leads to just more comfort and confidence, right? I can read something 47 times, but the first couple times I talk about it might come off a little questionable, let's say. But the more confidence I get from working through it, the more I can also lead a conversation or take back control when things go a little sideways. So personality can still exist in a process, but we need to have the questions that need to be asked. We can't just be based on feelings. So as we get ready to close out, my next to last question is this. How often do leaders confuse stress with productivity?
Always.
Like, at APP, we're not allowed to say the B word because it used to be my favorite. And some people at home are probably like, what are they talking about now?
Yeah, what are they doing over there?
B-U-S-Y, right? B-U-S-Y. I can't say it because I get flagged in our call scoring and then my score goes down. But B-U-S-Y is a bad B word, right? It's also a perception and it's not reality. The real question is, are we understaffed or are we just inefficient? So what excuses do leaders accidentally enable?
When you have your team coming to you and they're saying like, I can't possibly fit a renewal review call into my B-word schedule. I could never make 3 phone calls a day. I'm the B word.
I think there's that, but then it's also adjacent to I don't have time for training, so I can learn how to do these things. Like, just leave me in my little silo, let me clock in, keep my head down, and just keep pushing through. But I don't have time for renewal review calls, and I'm also not able to take the time to learn how to squeeze that into my day either.
Right.
But I can also spend 45 minutes shopping a $140 renter's policy because the rate went up $6 and they can no longer afford to eat. Because my saving them $6 or more a year, which is 50 cents a month, will enable them to now fully eat again. I might also be somewhat jaded. So.
Well, and the reality is, like, when you're at work, you should be filled with things to do. Like, there just shouldn't be hours that go by where you're like online shopping or on DoorDash waiting for lunch. Like, you should have things to do. So if you take the time to figure out how to be more productive, like, and that's what a big piece of productivity is taking the time you have and learning how to prioritize it and restructure it to accommodate new trainings to help you expand to take on more. It's not just like piling more work on, it's how to learn to incorporate it all into your day-to-day.
I have this secret fantasy where I get to go in an office with a stopwatch and just observe. I get to be like, awesome. So you just spent 14 minutes playing on your cell phone while you're at work, not on a break. Awesome. Your kids called 7 times today, which took 18 minutes because they were fighting over somebody had a bigger half of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, great. You just sat in the break room and talked to 3 people. So that's 4 of you for 11 minutes. So 44 minutes of time was just spent in here gossiping, not on a break. Like, I have this fantasy that we could just start calling it out as we see it, because I'm at work to get a job done, to make money, to do the things I want to do. I'm not at work to be paid to do the things I want to do. Or I'd be an influencer or something, and I don't know how to do that. But I might try someday.
I'll subscribe.
So I think the real message is facts over feelings, accountability is fun, and processes solve pressure, right? Those are kind of my key phrases that I love to go to. And good leadership is going to find the root causes, coach consistency, and really push people forward to a better place and just say, hey, you want to be less stressed and get more done, we can do it, but we have to banish the B word. So as we go to the end of this topic, my friends, the modern client experience must exist. Clients want self-service. They want fast responses. They want mobile access, and they want convenience. So the questions I want you to ask yourself is, what insurance task should never require a phone call anymore? But I want you to then flip it around and say, which ones are going to require a phone call every single time, even if the team doesn't love it? I also want you to ask, where can AI help your agency? Where can we get more comfortable with some of the technology that's real? And what needs a human touch versus something in the background? What can we automate? What can we make happen? So AI can handle simple relative tasks. Humans handle complex conversations. I've had a theory for years of, if you have a license, your highest best use of your time is educating clients and solving problems, not sending ID cards, not filling out certificates, not processing payments, not all these other things that fill our day. So I would love for you guys to respond in our chat or send us a message. What's the most ridiculous thing clients still have to call the agency for? Because I would love to build this into something. So my challenge to all of our friends out there, what's the most ridiculous thing clients have or clients still call agencies for? And my closing question for Gina and Sarah is this: what's one thing agencies need to stop doing immediately? I know. We're closing with an icebreaker as well. What can you do? What's one outdated habit or one feature-focused thing they should stop?
Too much follow-up and learning when to accept some of the responsibility needs to be on the client.
Ooh, fair. Sarah, do you have thoughts?
My thoughts would be definitely being open to working a little bit outside of your comfort zone. At Exhibit A, people in service are like, I'm not licensed, I shouldn't be cross-selling. We need to get comfortable knowing our coverages, even if we're not licensed.
And we don't have to have a license to say, I see we don't have your home. Where is it? Or I don't see your commercial auto policy in our system. Do you have one? Okay, great. I'll let the agent know. We don't have to discuss the coverage. We just have to look with our eyes and use our words. I'm now triggered. I have to go. My friends, the future of servicing insurance belongs to agencies that stop winging it and start operating with intention. We hope that's you. If you need assistance along the way, look us up, reach out, agencyperformancepartners.com. We're happy to help you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It is so fun giving you guys tips and tricks every single, week out there. Remember, you can find us on social media for updates. You can like or comment on this podcast or video, and we're here for you. And check out our website. There's a ton of tools. We have over 1,000 blogs on our website. We have over 1,000 videos on YouTube. You can search and find answers to your top questions. But also, if you need a little bit more help, you want a best friend that's there cheerleading for you, giving you the guidance that you need, and being there on some of those tough days, let us know. We'd love to meet your agency and learn if we're a good fit. All right, signing off. Go sell insurance.